How many of you are interested in yourself? You've all raised your hands, haven't you? Having this deep interest in yourself, don't you think it would be a good idea to find out what you're all about? To do some investigating, and find out why your mind works the way it does, and especially to find out why you are so out of control, right? Well, you know that. You know you're not controlling yourself at all. You know you can be taken away by the slightest bit of news or criticism. Someone saying something that doesn't come up to your idea of how they should behave toward you, and so you're taken away. So, wouldn't you say that it would be intelligent to have what we might call a creative interest in ourselves, in our life here on earth? In other words, not just idly thinking about ourselves, thinking about what we can get, or thinking how we can avoid some task, but an actual investigation to find out, in your case, to find out why you were you, and then, if you don't like what you see, find out how to change it. Now, it's quite obvious, and it should be quite clear to you, that you've never done this. That you've never investigated your emotions. You hear the word emotion and you see it in the dictionary, but you don't pay any attention to it as it applies to you. Why don't you do that right now? Right now. The word emotion, or a synonym of feeling or mood. Are you aware that you're swimming in a sea of emotions? They're lapping up and churning around you all the time, taking you off in this direction and that direction. They're taking you places you don't want to go. Well, aren't your feelings taking you into despair all the time? Aren't they taking you to places where you have to fight, or you've got someone to argue with? Aren't your emotions taking you to some pretty dark and dreary places where it's storming all the time? Of course they are. So you see, we've learned something already. We've learned that you don't understand yourself at all. That you're a victim, not of society, not of the economic system, not of politics, not of the past, not of the future, but a victim of yourself, and that alone. Isn't that marvelous as a revelation to find that out? Trouble is, you have no idea of what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about. You're hearing words, but they're not translating themselves into insight, into a fundamental understanding which could begin to change you and to take you out of that mad sea that tosses you around so ferociously all day long. Well, didn't it do it today? Aren't you nervous right now? Nod your heads. Those of you in the audience here, nod your head. You know it and I know it. We can agree on that. For example, how about your nervousness toward the future? You know, all these plans you have. Do you know why you have all these plans? You're doing your best, which isn't very good. You're doing your best to keep threats away from you connected with the future. You're wondering whether you're going to still have certain security, certain friends, certain activities. And you hope that somehow you can be the architect of your future and keep it going at least no worse than it's going now. And hopefully you hope it'll be a lot better, a lot more excitement, a lot more things to do, a lot more praise from people. Look all alone how unaware you are of your emotional feelings toward the future and how nervous it's keeping you. Now that we know the problem, we can look at some solutions. If you want them, do you want solutions to your problems? Let's get right down to that. You answer to yourself. Do you really want to solve your problems? I must tell you that you don't. Don't tell me you want to solve them. Don't tell me you want to get rid of your nervousness toward the future, because you could have done it long before now had you really wanted to. I'm trying to make you aware of something. I'm not criticizing. I'm stating a fact. I want you to see that you don't see how your difficulties and your strains and your anxieties toward the future, for example, are among your most priceless possessions, and you, again, have no idea what I'm talking about. And you don't know because you don't want to know. It's because you're lazy. Because you love being where you are, because it makes you what you think you are, and you're not that at all. But look at this. If you were to begin to think intelligently about tomorrow, next month, next year, if you were to begin to think intelligently about your future here, a certain fascinating fact would come to you. And oh, how it would change everything. How it would start you off in a new direction. It'd get you out of that emotional ocean. Get you down on solid ground. What you would see, if you could begin to think clearly, is that your future is determined by just one thing only. You, the way you are today. Do you understand then that your nature is your future? That your state is your fate? Well, look at it. How did you behave? Go back a year. What kind of a man or a woman were you a year ago? You know very well what you were. Worried, and oh, so pretenseful, and oh, so quick to be offended. Matter of fact, that'd be a pretty good idea to take up for just a little bit. And we'll come back to the main highway. We're still on the highway, but making little detours where the scenery is interesting. Practical scenery. You're touchy, aren't you? And to avoid people saying things that you don't want to hear, you avoid situations and people who might say something that might set you off. Therefore, you avoid the opportunity you have to learn what you're really like and to change what you're like. Do you know that you associate with people who are on your own level? Why? What you like in them, you like in yourself. And let me tell you, in both cases, it's not at all likable. All it is thrilling. All it is exciting. All it is something that vibrates. And you love that vibration, and you call that vibration happiness, and that is what keeps you what you are, and that is what keeps your character, your nature, your state, your mind, your thinking, your feelings what they are. And so you reproduce yourself into tomorrow, the next week and next month. Look what we've found out. Don't you feel a little lighter already of what you've discovered? If not, I'll explain why you should.